Hello everybody, I hope you're well. My name is Richard Simons and this here is a Model 3 that we've had for a year now. You'll see me in lots of videos and lots of different cars, but this car now is 1 year old and we've covered over 20,000 miles in this Model 3 long range. So in this video, I'm just going to run through a bit of our experience with this, a proper long-term owner's review of the Model 3, and also just have a look at, the condition of the car, how much it's cost for electricity in over 20,000 miles, and of course what warranty problems and maintenance and repairs we've had to do on the car in that time. So stick around and I'll show you. Okay, so before we get into nitty-gritty, what exactly is this car? So this is a June 2021 car. The beginning of the VIN number there, LRW, that means it's a made in China car. The Shanghai cars have been coming to the UK for about 6 months by then, so we're well into the China production run. And we picked this up right at the end of June 2021. It's a long range with the black paint, which is an optional extra. We've got the 19-inch sport wheels, which is an optional extra, and we've got a white interior, which is an optional extra. We've also got the tow bar. So you haven't been able to specify a tow bar on a Model 3 for some months now, but this is when you could, and we've also got the detachable tow bar with this car. Total price new, £53,490. I've just specified one up if I were to buy another one of these the same today, and that would be £61,200, and that's without the tow bar, which I think was another £1,000 extra. So this now new, if you could do it, would be just over £62,000. And you've got to remember, this is the about 75 kilowatt hour battery pack. The cars in the UK are different to the rest of Europe, where the long range you started receiving the 82 pack about now. I was hoping that's what we get, but alas, unfortunately not. And I don't think we ever have since. The only cars with the 82 pack in have been the performance models. So I think if you picked up a new Model 3 long range yesterday, it would actually be exactly the same as this one. Also currently from the China Shanghai factory. So that's that. What else have we done to the car? Okay, so from new, we had a PPF paint protection film fitted to the front end and to the seal, so I'll show you at the moment. But along here, if you just look very close at the edges, you'll just see the edge of this PPF paint protection film. It's a clear plastic film that goes on top of the paintwork. And we did this from new because obviously it's best to do that before you start picking up the little stone chips and such like. Obviously black cars, I think they look fantastic. I love black cars. Most of our fleet are black, but they do pick up the stone chips. And knowing that we're going to be using this car up and down motorways, it's the first thing we did. So therefore, the front is basically free of stone chips. There's one slight mark there where maybe a bigger stone has just nipped the PPF, but essentially it still looks fantastic even after 20,000 miles. And the paint protection film also helps with swirling, which is easy to get on a black car. After a few washes, you get those swirls in the paint. On a warm day like today in the sun, this is actually self-healing itself. And I've even before got a wire brush and scratched this, and then it's sort of self-healed to show you exactly what it does. Now, paint protection film is really expensive, and the stuff we use is pre-cut, so it's not cut on the car either. So it's all pre-laser cut and placed on the car. So it costs a couple of £1,000, but you can see here the condition is still good. So we did the whole front end, did the headlights as well, done the mirror caps here, and we've even did the side, because what we were starting to see is a few Model 3s where we were getting stone chipping up along here and road rash, whereas this flares out. But we've also got a PPF section that we custom design that comes down here and then all the way along the seal to protect it from stone chips, and it looks like it's done a brilliant job. We also did the window tinting here, so this is the whole back piece in one go, but that removes what I refer to as the ball patch, and obviously I'm allowed to say that. And then we did the side windows at the back here as well, in what we call 20% grade of tint, so they look like factory tints on what is now the Y and certainly the X at the time, so not quite blacked out, that takes out too much light, but this one still lets the light in nicely. And we've got a carbon spoiler because it looks quite nice. We can sell these, so let us know if you want one. How are the wheels and tyres? So these are the 19-inch sport alloys in the original silver, and we haven't had to do any refurbishments. We've been really good, no curb damage at all, and they don't really even have any chipping around the spokes or anything like that, which can fairly easily get picked up, but these are all perfect, fine, as original. How are the tyres doing? So these are all the original tyres still. We've not had, touch wood, not been of a problem, no punctures, no repairs needed. These we've only just rotated recently, so these were on the back, and these are now coming up for renewal. So we've probably got a couple of thousand miles left in these. The ones that were on the front and now on the back have probably got 4,000 to 5,000 miles left on them. So you rotate the tyres, you'll get between 20 and 25,000 miles quite happily out of these. We don't try. We've also done a track day actually in this car. Yeah, we did do a track day in this, so you could quite easily get 25,000 miles out of a set of tyres if you were sensible. These are the Hankook Ventus S1 Evo, which is what you get with a 19-inch wheel. So the 18-inch wheels come with Michelin's. Slightly better ride. I think these Hankooks, although the wheel's slightly big, I think these are stiffer sidewalls, because I do find the ride a little bit fidgety on this. And in fact, even some of the performance models with Michelin tyres and then later the Pirellis, I find no firmer than this car. In fact, when we measured the height, they all seem to sit the same height anyway as the performance ones. But I think the Hankooks may be a stiffer sidewall as well, because on the Model Ys, the 19 inches come with Hankooks as well, but the 20 inch come with Michelin's, and I find the ride just as firm on the 19s as the 20s on those. But just my theory, I'm making it up. But anyway, tyres have lasted well, no issues so far. It's all about servicing. Well, of course, under the bonnet here, there isn't really much to see or do. In terms of servicing, you've got to remember that Tesla actually don't have a service schedule on the car. So there's no year, 12,000 miles, has to have a service and inspection. Most other EV manufacturers are still holding on to that. Every couple of years they do an inspection, which is normally cheap. But in Tesla, there's no fixed routine maintenance. All you have to do is top up your washer fluid in here. And indeed, that's all we've done. So that brings me on to issues and problems, warranty problems. Anything that's gone wrong and had to fix, how much does that cost? Nothing. We've done absolutely nothing to this car. Nothing has gone wrong at all with this car since we got it new. And I think that's brilliant. There's not a squeak in the cabin, there's not a rattle, there's not been a single bean of a problem. So I think if anybody ever criticises Tesla for build quality, I think that's very much unfounded. Porsche Taycan, been in, Kia EV6, had problems with that. Just about everything else usually has some kind of little niggle to rectify. But I have to say, we've had quite a lot of the Model 3s now. Whether the earlier Fremont ones, the early ones had some water ingress in the back lights occasionally, but problems are fairly few and far between. And certainly with this one, this China-made car, we've had nothing. Touch wood, it's been great. No problems whatsoever. Get a handprint off. I'm actually in trouble with these. Nothing. We never put the badge back on after doing the PPF, so I haven't got a badge to push on, so I've got a handprint on there, but there we go. How's the interior for wear and tear? Steering wheel, absolutely fine. Here, no problems, no scratches, anything like that. What about the white seats though? They get easily dirtied. Well, you can see dirt on them, but you can see dirt on the black just as easily, I think. The good thing you know is these are a bit grubby. You can just wipe them down. I mean, even a wet wipe or just a damp cloth will clean them up nicely. What about any wear and tear on this driver's seat though? Have a look. Ooh, so bright. Let me try and block that in the sun. So, not really anything to speak of here at all. One slight kind of little edge of crease in here. Oh, there's an ant there, look. Come on, fella, you're in the way. There you go. So the seat's absolutely fine, look. In fact, we need to just... He's got back in, look. Here he is. Come on, son. There you get. So, ants like the white seats, but at least I could see him. In the black one, I'd have just sat on him and squashed him. So yeah, the white seat's fine. And again, we've had quite a few cars in our showroom now with the white interiors, including heavily used family Model X's with 70,000 miles. And these white seats always seem to clean up really well. And because it's not leather, they don't get the sort of patina, the creasing, the cracking like you can get with leather. So I don't think it's a problem at all, having white seats, even with a busy family. So this is a newer car with the power tailgate. The early cars are manual tailgates. There's a little bit of scratching just around there. Let's just do it again. Okay, so at the back here, there's a little bit of scratching just around here, which you won't really pick up with camera, and it was easy to polish out, but just probably from people opening a tailgate like that. This being a new car, it does have the power tailgate. But along here, we did add a little bit of the paint protection film, a little strip along here, so that's all fine. You can easily pick up things, kind of getting things in and out of the boot. And then in here, we did invest in an all-weather mat here, which has protected the carpets. Under here, carpet's all good. And there's original charge cables there, barely used. Oh, that's a tow bar. So that'll bring me on to a couple of annoying things about the Model 3. So the tow bar is really handy to have, and it tows brilliantly. I think electric for towing is fantastic. You know, the torque in it, how smooth it is, having clutches and gears, it's brilliant. It does probably half your range, depending on exactly what you're towing. But this tow bar, getting this in is a bit of a clunky, heavy affair. Now, what we're seeing with a lot of cars now is just an electric deployable tow bar. So you push a button in the boot and the tow bar kind of folds out like this. Yes, please, Tesla. That would be fantastic. So my second little niggle, first world problems and all, but this has got the newer Matrix style headlight. So this can do, project the word Tesla on the wall with the light display. So it could be very clever, but in this country, we still don't have any active Matrix headlight function. It's not been a legal thing in the States, so I just don't think they've ever developed it on. But again, for this kind of price bracket now, most other cars have got some pretty snazzy headlights that ultimately are just better than these. These are okay, the LED, the bright, the white, the pattern's quite good, but they're just not active, and even the high beam function is always a bit slow to react. So leaving it on the auto high beam just doesn't really work. You come around the corner, it's too slow to drop it, and it tends to end up dazzling other drivers and they start flashing you. So the headlights are okay, but we should be seeing improvements on these by now. I'm going to mention ride comfort as a niggle, as I usually do with Model 3 and Model Y reviews. And my gripe, and it's nothing major, but my little gripe here is that the performance one's fine. When it's a non-performance version, like this one, I just want the ride just to be that little bit more absorbent, a little bit softer. It's just a bit fidgety and a bit hard, especially around town and on some of the country roads that we have here. Like the Model Y and the motorway, I find them fine, but just a slightly softer ride for the non-performance cars, I think I would appreciate that. Maybe I'm just getting old. I say it's not terrible, it's not a deal breaker, but I've driven some other cars which are just a little bit better, and I wish this was like that. There are a couple of things I want to add to the to-do list. I'd like to see a memory function for the passenger side, or at least the ability to adjust the passenger seat from the driver's side. I think that'd be really handy. And the second one is, when you leave the car, it should tell you if you've left a phone in the tray. Especially so because your phone is the key. So if you leave your phone in the car, people can just get in it and drive off, can't they? So other cars now usually give you a message or bing bong as you leave the car and your phone's still on the charging dock, and I think these, more than any other car, should definitely have that. I think the glass roof, I love having the glass roof, it's great, but I think in the UK we don't have certainly not as much of the heat reflective type of glass, and I've seen it on a couple of cars, and when they're wet you can see the differences. You get that kind of light refraction thing. But these don't have it, and so on a hot day in the sun, you get in the car like now, somebody who's a little bit follically challenged as I am, you can just kind of feel a bit of the heat on the top of your head there. So much as I'm fairly solar powered, I guess it's a slight niggle. By the time you've got the kind of ventilation going, I'm normally fine with it, but you do kind of feel the heat through the glass roof on a bald head. So what are some of my favourite bits about the Model 3? Personally, I like the look of it, and I like the size of it. It's not too big, it's a nice compact size, it suits the UK roads brilliantly, and the space it's got, you've got good storage under the front. You've got a really good sized boot, and you've got all that storage under the boot as well. So for storage, it's very, very good. And just a good package, if that makes sense. So they've got a lot of space into a car that isn't too big. And including the space in the back here, I think it's pretty good, again, for the size of the car. I guess a little bit more distance between the seat and the floor would be nice, but it is good because there's no transmission tunnel here, so it's a flat floor, and I can spread out a little bit if it's just one person in the back here. This is a seat right back in my position as well, by the way, so I'm fine for knee room, I'm fine for headroom. I guess a through load would be nice to have. Again, we're seeing that on more and more cars now, so a central through load it doesn't have. You can only fold the seat 60-40 at the back. A through load would be a kind of wish list item if I could, but it's not bad at all. For me as a family with a little dog, having dog mode is really handy. When we've gone away somewhere, in holiday in Cornwall or something, and you're going to go into a restaurant and have a quick bite to eat, and you can't take the dog, you can leave them in the car with dog mode on, and they're perfectly comfortable, cool, or warm, depending on the weather at the time, with the message on the screen just to reassure everybody that the dog's fine. And he is. You always fall straight asleep in there, and we always have to wake him up when we get back. I love how the phone is the key. So you just come up, open the door, and the car unlocks without having to get the phone out of your pocket. Now, interestingly, I don't know why we don't see this with more cars, basically, because I think it's brilliant. With the i4 BMW, for example, that's got phone as a key, but you have to take your phone out your pocket, wave it like this, and then it will unlock. Why do all cars not just do this, and then you walk away and the car locks itself? It's super simple, and yet Tesla are still the only ones that do this. And I just think we should see it more often. And why do all cars not just have two really conveniently placed phone holders and chargers like that? They're so often just one, and they're kind of in armrests and silly places like that, so that's brilliant. The big storage in here and in here is brilliant. So easy cup holders here, brilliant. And then the screen itself and the software, well, that's all brilliant. I guess in an ideal way, I would kind of like Apple CarPlay, but it's so good that you don't really need it. So I am quite happy to go along with that notion. Again, using cars with Apple CarPlay, there are times it's useful, and using one of the other navigation apps like Waze can be a little bit better, but I've got no problem with this. This is Google Mapping, the traffic and routing I've never had an issue with. And of course, what always works brilliantly with a Tesla is route planning. So they're still the easiest cars to jump in, put where you're going to go, and then the car will plan your route and the charging stops for you and preheat the battery. It works so much better than any other car still. Other cars have now got good range, they've got fast charging, and if you know where you're doing and where you're going to stop, you can make the car travel just as quickly as a Tesla. But too often other cars will just stop at a busy single 50 kilowatt charger at Newbury Services or something, whereas down the road there's a multi-bay grid serve site that you could use, or Instavolt. But with the Tesla, no need, just get in it, go where you want to go, Edinburgh, Monte Carlo, Rome, and it will happily just navigate a brilliant route to there. So that is leagues ahead of anything else, even today. Again, getting in and out lots of different cars, one thing that always stands out when I get into the Tesla is the visibility. This low dashboard, great view out. Other cars still have more traditional dashboards and less view, and this just stands out. It's brilliant. So visibility I find excellent. The steering's super sharp. They're great fun. They're obviously very quick cars, very responsive on the throttle, strong regen when you want it. I guess I would quite like something from other cars where you get some paddles to adjust the regen, so you can quickly go to kind of a coasting mode or not, but again, it's not exactly essential. I love the minimal look in here, and they are just brilliant fun to drive. They're like little go-karts, but they're also quiet and refined. This has got the double glazed windows because it's a newer car, but that doesn't really help with noise. That's more for thermal insulation, and that all helps with efficiency. Now, talking about efficiency, what have we got in this car since it was new, and how much has it cost us to charge it? And so obviously we've used this long trips, short trips, summer, winter and such like. Now this is a heat pump car, so it helps a little bit in the winter with its efficiency there. But normally we're between about 240 watt hours per mile to about 280 watt hours per mile. It's long-term average. Someone's reset the trip meter here 2,500 miles ago, but it was running at about 260 watt hours per mile as its long-term average, so very nearly 4 miles per kilowatt hour. In the last 2,500 miles here, 249 watt hours per mile, so just over 4 miles per kilowatt hour is its long-term average for the last 2,500 miles. And let's talk charging costs. I've got a little sheet for that. So I've got here a list of all the times, 39, that I've supercharged the car over the course of the last year. So a few facts and figures for you here. So you've supercharged 39 times. The total amount of energy I've taken from charging is 1,332 kilowatt hours. So the cost of that is just under £470 in charging costs from Tesla Superchargers. I'll add home charging in a minute. But interestingly, the amount I added at a supercharger averaged out at about 34 kilowatt hours. So you can see from that's kind of less than half the battery. Oh, no, about half the battery. So usually I'm only adding about 50%. There's obviously times less and times more, but it goes to show that you do not need to sit there and wait for a full charge, especially the efficiency in the pure range of this car. Normally, even if you're doing big distance in a day, you're just adding a top up. So the average amount, 34 kilowatt hours. So average 3.25 times a month that I use a supercharger. So let's take that 470 odd pounds from supercharger costs, and then I've added on the rest of the charging in that 20,000 miles, and that would have been really nearly all from the office here, where we pay 16 pence per kilowatt hour. And that brings out a total charging cost there of about £650 for that. So about £1,100 in total this has cost me for charging the car. However, I'm aware obviously that most people would charge at home, and let's take now a figure because electric prices have gone up at home quite significantly in the last few months, and supercharging costs have gone up as well. So that, you know, a car now you would be paying more than that. So, by the way, those supercharging costs averaged out at 35 pence per kilowatt hour. They do vary based on location. An average now would be higher. But let's take home charging. If I paid 28 pence per kilowatt hour at home, and that was accounted for all the other charging this car had, that would have added up to about £1,080 of home charging, plus the £470 worth of the supercharging. So roughly speaking, £1,500, just over £1,500 worth of charging costs for over 20,000 miles. which is quite reasonable. So let's work out roughly what this car's cost then to own and round things up. So this has cost me about £1,100 in charging. Servicing is nothing. Road tax is nothing. We haven't done anything on tyres or wiper blades or any other maintenance on this car as yet. But what about the biggest aspect to a car ownership is normally depreciation. That's the bit that costs the most. So remember I said that this was £53,500 new. A new one specified today would be over 62 because they've just been going up in price over the course of especially the last few months and last week as well. So a new one now would cost more. What that's done is obviously help the residual values of the used cars. So 53.5 new. Today in the current market it would probably sell £51,000–52,000. It's not bad at all, is it? So it's really only lost a couple of £1,000 of depreciation and about £1,100 worth of electricity. So about £3,000 cost of running this car for last year. And that I'm definitely very happy with. There's not many cars that can cost much less than that. So yeah, and I think you can see overall the Model 3 long range is just a great package. So I would love to hear your feedback as well. So if you've got a Model 3, let me know below the things you like and don't like about it, and little niggles you've got, the things you do like about it. And if you've got one coming, I think you're going to be very, very pleased with it because they are a fantastic car. So I hope that's been interesting, been useful. Thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Hey everyone, thanks for watching our videos. If you like our content and want to see more, don't forget to not only subscribe, but also hit the bell icon for notifications so you don't miss any new videos as they're uploaded. Plus, we're also on Instagram. Just look up R Simons or RSEV. We're on Facebook and Twitter. So lots of news, stories and things as we go on each one of those channels.